Am I the a-hole for kicking my stepdaughter out of my house after she sabotaged her father's party? My stepdaughter is 19 and absolutely hates me. I have been with her dad for 8 years and met him a year after he divorced her mother, but her and her mom both blame me for the divorce. They divorced because she cheated with his brother. I have made multiple efforts to bond with her, and she has nothing but bad things to say whenever I do. Like in your dreams, go F yourself. You'll never be my mom, so stop trying, etc. Despite this, I still try, and it's absolutely exhausting. Her father has spoken to her multiple times, but she truly doesn't care. On Wednesday, I was throwing my husband a surprise birthday party. I invited my sister-in-law, mother-in-law, and stepdaughter. My sister-in-law is hands down my best friend, while my mother-in-law and I are civil, usually. My sister-in-law called it and said something bad was going to happen, that she had a feeling, but I ignored it. I baked the cake and got him like 4 gifts, one of which was an expensive watch he had his eye on for months. My sister-in-law even came with me to buy it. Long story short, when I was out on the back deck grilling and my stepdaughter was the only one inside, and the cake ended up being accidentally knocked off the counter and the watch was gone. I asked her where it was, and she said the only watch she knew about was the one her mom bought for him, but she wouldn't let me see it. Husband walks in halfway through the argument and she hands him the watch I bought and said, "Mom knew you liked watches, so she got this for you." My sister-in-law was the first to speak up, saying that I had bought that watch and had my back 110%. My stepdaughter then goes in complete hysterics, saying that once again I was trying to bash her mother and take credit, when all her mom wanted was to do something nice for the love of her life. I immediately told her to get out, and then showed my husband the receipts. She refuses to leave and says she won't be told she can't be in her dad's home. I've owned this house for 21 years. My husband has my back, and tells her to get out and not come back, and says he is done with her lying and trying to play matchmaker. My mother-in-law, who saw the whole thing, then starts berating me and blaming me for alienating her grandchild, and says I'm the reason they don't have a relationship. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. When all her mom wanted was to do something nice for the love of her life. What on earth are your stepdaughter and her mom on? Your stepdaughter is more than old enough to learn some manners and treat you in a civil way. She doesn't have to like you, but should show basic respect. I'm assuming she can go to her mom's house after being kicked out, rightfully so. So it's not like she's out on the street. If your mother-in-law really cared about her relationship with your stepdaughter, she would make her own effort and call her out for her attitude towards you. Thank God for your sister-in-law and husband supporting you. Stepdaughter wouldn't be allowed in my house anymore. She can live with her mom, and her dad can bring her out to go places, but she's not allowed back at the house ever. And going forward, I would never attempt to speak to her again, and consider a restraining order on her mom. Not today, Hall. Your stepdaughter is a raging lunatic. Her mother cheated on her father, but you're to blame for the divorce? How does that work in her twisted mind? Raising a little monster that will cheat to get what she wants. For what it's worth, my mom left my dad because he was completely absent in our lives. He worked and came home, and that was it. No extracurriculars, no family trips. He would just stay home. Nothing outside of more or less existing in the house. When she filed for divorce, my dad started, being a dad. My brother ate it up, latched onto him, blamed my mom for everything, moved out of the house to be with my dad. Sometimes people make weird choices during a divorce. Has anyone ever just flat out said, ask your mom about her sleeping with your uncle? She knows about it, but says that if I didn't start dating him, her parents could have worked it out. That's insane. I get wanting your parents to be together, but it's been a decade and she's 19 now. There's something seriously imbalanced about her to think she could pass that watch off as a gift from her mom. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for how I punished my stepdaughter for flushing her sister's spices down the toilet? I, male 42, married my current wife when my daughter, 16, was 4 and my stepdaughter, 14, was 2. They grew up as if they were blood siblings with occasional disagreements and jealousy issues, mostly from my stepdaughter. 2 days ago was my daughter's dog's 3rd death anniversary. Usually, at that time, she'd rather be alone to write poems or look at pictures of her beloved dog. This year, she asked me to go with her to visit his grave, which is located in her grandparents' farm. And though my wife appreciates my daughter's need to have time alone, my stepdaughter wanted to come with us, though she wasn't close to the dog. My daughter refused to let her come and only wanted me to go. My stepdaughter then threw a fit and insisted on coming. I sat her down to explain her sister's need for space that day, and she stopped after that. We left, but 15 minutes later, my wife texted me that my stepdaughter had a breakdown and didn't stop crying, then flushed all her sister's spices that were in separate containers down the toilet. They were a gift from my daughter's Asian friend's mom, since my daughter is into Asian food and cooks meals every week. I was stunned. I called my wife, but got no response. My daughter asked what's wrong, but I just dropped her off at her grandparents' farm, then went back home. My stepdaughter refused to come out of her room, yelling that my daughter deserved it for excluding her like that. I was pissed. I told her I'd punish her for wasting spices that were important to her sister that she shouldn't even touched, by taking from her savings to pay for the damages. But my wife thought I should only take away privileges and not money my stepdaughter saved. She said she's still a kid, and she won't let me touch her saving but will pay herself. But if my wife paid, then my stepdaughter will think her behavior is okay. Then she said my daughter's to blame too for not letting her stepsister come with her. She acted as if she never goes to the farm, though I take them there twice a month. I argued that this was, in my opinion, the right punishment to get this resolved. But my wife said I was only making my stepdaughter resent me because she wants the money for a new bicycle. We kept disagreeing on this, and all I was thinking of was my daughter's reaction when I told her. She was devastated, but I assured her I was taking steps to help her replace all the spices she lost. My wife called me cruel. Am I the a-hole? The consequence he came up with is absolutely fair. Since when do consequences need to be adapted and tailored to the kid's preferences? You also shouldn't be afraid to insist on a consequence just because she's your stepdaughter. You've raised her most of her life. Moreover, what she did was wrong. So she wanted to save up for a new bicycle. Well, her sister wanted to save those spices for cooking a meal. She owes her sister monetary compensation. The whole point is to show her that it's not worth doing something like this again. If your stepdaughter is sad/upset about this consequence, that means it's working. Not a day-hole. Oh my goodness, yes. My son is 8 and is having a hard time accepting consequences for his actions. Yesterday he missed a portion of the visit with my in-laws at his stepbrothers, as his punishment was to stay in his room. The visit was in the front yard. Because of his age, he gets the opportunity to have a redo when he understands his actions. It is frustrating to enforce a lot of the time, but I am doing it now to help make him a more compassionate person later. Thank you for your hard work making a good future adult. It is not easy, but damn, it is appreciated by the rest of us. Your wife doesn't want your stepdaughter to replace something that she stole? Suddenly, her tantrums at 14 years old aren't so surprising. Not a hole. This. Opie has a wife problem. The wife offering to pay instead of the 14-year-old is ridiculous. It explains why the 14-year-old is so bratty. Opie, protect your daughter and get the entire family into therapy, or things will only get worse since your wife enables her daughter's bad behavior. Not a day-hole. She had a tantrum, acted entitled, and destroyed someone else's property. She knew exactly what she was doing, and did so maliciously. Now she's responsible for paying for it. Not a day-hole. It's pretty much the punishment fits the crime. Now stepdaughter will have to wait on getting a bike until later, and she'll hopefully learn that actions have consequences. Better to learn that now as a young teen versus later. Not a day-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister nobody surprised her stepson chose not to visit anymore? My sister and her husband started out online dating. When they decided to get serious 9 years ago, he moved across the country to be with her, leaving behind his then 7-year-old son. He and his ex were already apart at that point, but from what I've learned, they had shared custody up until then. His son was not happy that his dad moved so far, and when the first summer of long-distance parenting came, he clearly didn't want to be there, and showed no excitement or interest in getting to know my sister. My sister was all surprised Pikachu face at the time, and couldn't believe he was so dismissive of her when they met. Over the last 9 years, they have gotten married and had 2 children together. Now my sister's stepson has decided he no longer cares about maintaining contact with his dad or half-siblings, and told them in April he would not be flying out this summer. Last year didn't happen due to COVID, so they were hoping he would come. But he told his dad he didn't appreciate being left for some woman, and especially didn't like the way his dad started a new family after moving so far away from him. Meaning he had to travel across the whole country every single time he saw his dad. And how he was done. That his dad could keep his new family, he was good with his mom and family back there. My sister was stunned, and she cannot believe he feels the way he does. She asked me if we could talk about it last week, and she asked me if I could believe he would do this. I said I could easily believe it. That nobody was shocked by his actions because it was clear he was hurt, and felt like his dad abandoned him for my sister. He never appeared to any of us to care much for his half-siblings, and he definitely doesn't give a crap about my sister. It was also clear he was angry with his dad, but my sister's husband expected him to adapt and adjust, and probably thought he'd get over it with time. Well, he didn't. My sister was pissed that I said nobody was surprised. She said I was dismissive and cruel with my words, and that saying that 21 is as good as I told you so. She told me none of us should have expected this, and if we did, we're all huge a-holes. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I mean, truth sucks to hear, but the dude literally just up and left his kid. I'd expect him to take time and effort out of his life every year to visit them. Of course, the kid is going to grow bitter and resentful towards his father, and the people he was abandoned for in his eyes. I never understood people who would just find someone thousands of miles from where they live, and just expect the kids to adapt and accept things without having the right to express what they're feeling. In certain cases, the moves are necessary. Both my divorced parents were military, but they made an effort to ensure they were both a regular part of my life, even living across the country, and I visited all summer and on major holidays. I'm betting that Opie's brother-in-law put very little effort into making sure he stayed a part of his son's life despite the distance. Not the a-hole. Did she ever acknowledge it had to be hard on the stepson to go through what he did? Or that the dad should have flown back sometimes to see his son? It seems so one-sided, and I don't see any acknowledgement of care for stepson's feelings on the part of your sister. The truth hurts. It's incredibly disruptive to the child to have spent entire summers so far away from all his school friends. It had to suck listening all the kids tell their stories about summer camps and Little League the first day back from school. Truth hurts, yo. Not the a-hole. And given how you don't mention them ever visiting the son, meaning the burden was always on him, what else did they expect? At the very least, they could have done vacations over in his area and do fun stuff with him, if they want to make him feel like he still mattered. Yeah, it seems common on the sub that the kids are the ones putting the effort in. Usually a good indication who the a-hole is going to be. Not the a-hole. Opie was right. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for calling my father a worthless sperm donor and then refusing to come to his son's funeral? My 17 female father, let's call him Carl, left my mom and I when I was 6. I didn't even know my parents had issues, and apparently neither did my mom, so it was a total surprise when I woke up that morning to my mom in hysterics because he was missing. We searched everywhere, contacted everyone we knew, and still it took, well, over a year before we even found him. Even then, it was just so my mom could get a proper divorce. No contact since then. My mom was the best, but she was killed in an accident when I was 10. I was in the car with her and in a hospital for a while afterwards. The authorities went looking for my dad, but when they couldn't find him, custody of me went to my mom's foster/adoptive parents. About a month ago, my grandparents were contacted by Carl, who claimed he wanted to see me. Or rather, he wanted me to meet his son, 11, who was apparently sick. Have I mentioned that Carl got himself a new family the same year he ditched us? Kid wasn't even his, but apparently meant more to him than I ever did. Anyway, it seemed like the kid wanted to meet me. My grandparents made it clear it would be my choice, and I said no, vehemently. Then days ago, Carl showed up at my house screaming that I was an awful child/sister because I refused to grant his son's dying wish, and now the kid is already passed. I felt sympathetic towards him, but there was no way I was gonna let him blame me for it. So this may be where I'm the a-hole. I told Carl he had no right to my time because he was nothing more than a worthless sperm donor who didn't even show up when my mom died. Then I told him that under no circumstance can he force me to attend his son's funeral because I didn't know him, nor did I ever want to. My grandparents are on my side, but they did mention that I could have been just a bit nicer because this kid just died. But frankly, Carl was an A. It is not like I said he deserved what happened for being a crappy dad. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Screw Carl, and what happened to the kid isn't your problem. I'll take downvotes, but it's the truth. Opie never knew the kid and had no relationship. Your grandparents are good people, and you were probably the world to your mother. Hold your head up high and remember the good times. Not the a-hole. No downvotes for me. Carl sucks as a father and as a human being. $5 says he was after a kidney, liver, or bone marrow to save the other son. And that's the only reason he got in touch at all. Not an a-hole. That's kinda how I assumed it was going to end up being about. And while it wasn't confirmed one way or the other, that's just because Opie didn't take the bait. Maybe the kid genuinely wants to make a connection with some rumored sister, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was just about finding out whether she's a potential medical match. Not an a-hole. Though I think that he claims that his stepson wants to meet because he figures that will be a better guilt trip to inflict on you than Say does, because there's no reason why the kid should want to see you. Not an a-hole. Also, I'm guessing he never paid child support as he went AWOL. Might be worth getting his contact details so he can be made to back pay that. Not an a-hole. He had it coming. Glad you got a chance to get it off your chest.